Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for watching another video. Today we're going to be talking about tuning. Now, I want to start off by saying that I'm not sponsored by any means from my tuning company. I'm doing this out of the goodness of my heart, and I'm doing this out of how much I enjoy the company that I'm tuned by and why I would recommend it to any of you guys. So, if you're new to my channel, I'm tuned by a company called Equilibrium Tuning, also known as EQT Tuning. And if you are a returning viewer and you've seen some of my previous S3 videos, you know that I'm tuned by this company. Currently, I run their Stage 2 93 octane tune and their Stage 2 E30 tune. Unfortunately, I can't run the E30 tune all the time because the closest ethanol gas station to me is about 30 minutes away at an airport, so I'd have to make the trek all the way over there to be able to get E85 so that I can mix the E30. So typically, I am running the 93 tune, but when I want a little extra sauce and I have the extra time, I do go and get some ethanol. Now, the reason that I'm making this video is because if you're new to the MQB platform, which consists of many different cars, but the main cars that people usually get when they get introduced into the MQB world is either a GTI, A3, S3, or the Golf R. It's no surprise that these cars are super capable. These cars are a lot of fun. These cars make a lot of power, but from the factory, these cars are very underwhelming, though they can be fun if you're coming from a very slow, regular daily driver car to hopping into one of these that do make about 300 horsepower stock, then it is a big jump. But once you start getting into the tuning side of these cars, it really becomes a different experience. Now, let me go over a couple of power numbers of these cars for you guys to put into retrospect what we're going to be going into today. So, if you own a GTI or an A3, they make 228 horsepower and 258 foot-pounds of torque. That is at the crank, not at the wheel. And if you have an S3 or a Golf R, they make 292 horsepower and they make 280 foot-pounds of torque from the factory at the crank, again, not at the wheel. I believe if you get a 2020 S3, they make a little less. I think it's like 288 horsepower. I might be wrong. There's like a 5 horsepower difference when you get a later model S3, but when you tune them, they'll make the exact same power as one of the older models. This is my Cobb access port. This is the device that I use to tune my S3. Now, I don't run any kind of Cobb tunes. I don't want you guys to get confused. I do not run any sort of Cobb tune on my car. This is what EQT uses to be able to flash their tunes onto here, then they go onto the car. This is the devices that they use that you're able to flash your car with. Now, they're not the only company out there for Volkswagen and Audi that do this. I know, I believe 5150 does this, Sneaky Tune does this. There are a couple other companies that do use the access port as a device to tune. Now, the access port is a device that's known throughout a lot of different platforms. I think it's most popular used by the Subaru community. It's one of the biggest things. They've had these for years. Just more recently, there was support from the access port for Volkswagen and Audi, just so you guys know. Now, what if I told you that you can add over 150 horsepower to these cars with just the click of a button? That's what EQT will offer you when you get a tune by them. One of the best things about their tunes is that they make a lot of power and they're really reliable. EQT really is on the come up right now. They have such a huge following on the MQB platform that they're really outperforming a lot of different companies. Now, I'm not trying to put any other company down. I'm not saying that EQT, oh my God, is the best, because this is the only company that I've been tuned by, but my experience has been awesome. The results have been amazing. This car has not skipped a beat. I have not driven this car lightly. I will tell you that right now. I've had a lot of fun with this car. This car has done more than 25 passes at the track. This car has done a lot of digs on the street. This car has done a lot of highway pulls. This car by no means has been driven lightly. I've mentioned this before in other videos. This car is not my daily. I have a TDI wagon, which is my daily, which you can actually see right there in the camera outside the window. So that is my daily. This car is driven mostly on nice days and driven on the weekends, and it gets driven hard. Again, I'm not bashing any other companies. It's always good to have a little bit of competitiveness with other companies out there like APR, Unitronic, there's UM, then you have Sneaky, 5150, Revo. There's so many different companies that do it for these cars. So it's always good to have the nice competition. But at the end of the day, from the power that these cars make, from the customer service that EQT provides, it's honestly very hard to compare any other company to them. And I'll tell you why. Because a lot of these bigger companies like APR, Unitronic, Integrated Engineering, they are really good. They have a lot of great products, but I feel like it's a lot harder to get a hold of these people just because of how big they are. And I understand that. That's not a bad thing. You know, these companies have made a huge name for themselves. as opposed to a newer company or a company that you're just finding out about, like Sneaky, EQT, etc. So one of the good things with EQT is, number one, they're recommended a lot on the forums, and number two, they have a Facebook group. Well, I'll put a screenshot of their Facebook group here. If you're going to get your car tuned, you can join it, and there's a lot of useful information there. Their admins and moderators are employees of the company, and they're online all the time. You can ask questions. They'll answer you directly. You could DM them. They'll answer you. You could email them. They'll answer you in a very friendly time frame. Like, these guys are on top of their stuff 100%. If you have a problem, you have to see how many different people have questions that their employees will answer within 10-15 minutes max, and they'll give you an answer right there on the spot. And you'll see that other people chime in, and there's a lot of help that goes on through the group, and it's honestly pretty amazing how well the group is run, and it's amazing how much information there is if you're just learning what you can learn on that group. So let's go over some power figures with the EQT Tune. I'm going to put a screenshot of that right now. Here is from their frequently asked questions on their website. I'm also going to link their website down in the description if you want to check their stuff out. Besides tunes, they have a lot of hardware, especially their turbos. They are the best on the market by far. But anyways, besides the point. So as you see in the screenshot here, it depends on what car you have, the kind of power that you can make. But I'm going to put into retrospect with the stock power to see the differences. So a Stage 1 GTI, this will also apply to your A3. You can see on just the Stage 1 tune. Remember, Stage 1 does not require any kind of hardware upgrade, okay? It is recommended to do one-step colder plugs, which I would recommend regardless any kind of tune that you do on the car. That's what you should do. EQT recommends it. There's different plugs they recommend on their frequently asked questions. There, you can check it out, what you think will work best for you. But realistically, besides changing out the plugs, 100% stock car, just flashing the tune on, you could see anywhere between 270 to 300 wheel horsepower on a GTI or A3, and you can see anywhere from 320 to 350 wheel horsepower on a Golf R or S3. So now, let's take out the calculator for Stage 1 and let's see the differences that we can make when you're tuned as opposed to when you're stock, right? So the GTI and the A3, like I said before in the video, they make 228 horsepower from the factory, okay? And being front-wheel drive, there's about a 15% crank to wheel horsepower loss there, okay? So 228 times 0.15, that is about a 34 horsepower gain loss. 228 minus 34. You're looking at about 194 horsepower to the wheels on a stock GTI or A3. So you could even round that up a little bit depending on the conditions and the situation. Let's say you're going to be about 200 wheel horsepower on your GTI or your A3. So looking at the screenshot, you can make another 70 to 100 wheel horsepower on your GTI or A3. Also depends on fuel. You know, there's 93, E30, all of that stuff that you could be running. But on a Stage 1 tune, you could possibly, just with the click of a button, make another 70 to 100 wheel horsepower in your car. Now, let's go to the R and the S3. So these two cars make 292 horsepower from the factory. And when it comes to all-wheel drive, there's more of a closer spectrum of 20% wheel horsepower loss, if I'm not mistaken. I think all-wheel drive is a little more because there's more drivetrain to go through to get the power down to the wheels. So you have 292 times 0.20%. You're looking at about 58 horsepower loss from the crank horsepower to wheel horsepower. So 292 minus 58. So you're looking at about 234 wheel horsepower in a stock Golf R or S3. Now, what EQT claims on their wheel horsepower on a Stage 1 tune is 320 to 350 wheel horsepower, which again is absolutely ridiculous that you could make 90 to like 120 wheel horsepower more from the Stage 1 to the stock factory tune. And then you have your Stage 2 numbers like you guys see over here. 300 to 330 wheel horsepower in a stock turbo GTI or A3, or 350 to 380 wheel horsepower in a Golf R or an S3, or if you have an IS38 swap GTI or A3 as well. And if you're running an ethanol tune, your Stage 2 E30, it's ridiculous the power that you can make on these cars. On a stock turbo IS20, like you guys see here, 330 wheel horsepower to 360 wheel horsepower, and an RS3 IS38 swap GTI, you could get anywhere from 380 to 420 wheel horsepower. Now, the ethanol could be a little more misleading just due to the fact that sometimes you don't get great ethanol in your tank from the pump. A lot of people, or I would say most people, run pump ethanol. Some of you guys down south are very lucky. You get really good ethanol, very close to 85% up here in the Northeast. I am in Jersey. When the winter time comes, we do not get good ethanol. We'll get even sometimes as low as like E50, E55. In the winter, we get winterized crap here, which is unfortunate. So we will not make as much power as you guys do in the nicer areas of the country. So that is one thing to consider. All of these numbers, though, are basically just a guideline of what you could expect to make. You might make even more power than these numbers say. You can make a little less power than these numbers say. There are a lot of different factors that go into this. One of the biggest things, like I said, is fueling, mileage of the car, maintenance, how you maintain it. It could be how old your plugs are, your coils. There's a lot of different variables that come with the power you're going to be making in your car. But just know that if your car is healthy, running well, you're on top of maintenance, everything is 100%, you got really good fuel in the car, you could definitely expect to see these numbers. Now, today I'm not really going to go over anything with their Vortex Standard or Vortex XL turbos because I would say for basically the daily driver or somebody who's just out there looking to enjoy their car more, you're most likely going to stay at a stage 1 or stage 2 tune. I could make a video, explaining the Standard and the XL, but I don't really think it's necessary. That's really if you want to go full kill. But just so you guys know, these numbers that they have that were on the screen before, for the Standard and the XL, those are on a stock engine. These cars can easily make 550 horsepower to the wheels on a stock block, stock head, stock everything, except for the turbo and some fueling upgrades. So it's really crazy how much power these cars can actually handle. So access port, this little device will give you 100 plus horsepower gain over stock, which again is it's just mind-boggling how much power these cars can make just with the click of a button. Again, I recommend EQT for any of you guys out there. They are one of the best companies right now for the MQB platform. They are arguably, at least in my opinion, I'll say arguably to respect the other companies out there and the opinions of others, but I think they are the best. Even though I haven't been tuned by anybody else, this is the most in-depth I've seen a tuning company for these cars be with their customers. I've been tuned by many other people in the past from different cars that I've owned, even different Volkswagens, and I've never seen the support from those companies like I do with EQT. Car companies will advertise the horsepower of their cars at the crank, not at the wheel. So if you take a GTI or an A3, they make 228 crank horsepower from the factory. So let's say we're gonna, and I'll even do minimums just so you guys can see how much power these cars make. So if you're at 270 wheel horsepower at the crank, 15% plus 270, you're making about 311 horsepower. That is ridiculous, honestly. 311 to 228 is almost 100 horsepower difference. And then also with the S3 and Golf R, you're looking at 380 on pump. I'm doing this on pump times 20, approximately 76, 380. So you're at about 456 horsepower minus the 292. That is 160 horsepower difference. Honestly, it's crazy what these tunes can do. Anyways, guys, that's going to conclude the video. Please let me know if you have any questions. I really love the company. EQT is awesome. I'm going to leave their website link down below. They're having a boost weather sale right now. So if you're going to get any of their products, they are discounted for the entire month of November. Get your stuff because they're going to run out quick. Then things are going to be back ordered and people are going to get upset. So if you're seeing this video, it's going to be posted probably one of the first few days of November. Get your stuff from the sale immediately because it is going to run out. Get your tunes, get your products, get your turbos, get your intakes or intercoolers. Get what you got to get because the sale that they have is crazy. You're going to save a lot of money. And with not too much money into the car, you can make over 400 something horsepower depending on the car that you have. They're awesome. But if you guys enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. It lets YouTube know that I'm doing a good job. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good day.